A teenager accused of stabbing another student athlete at a track meet told officers as he was being taken into custody that he did it in self-defense.
Austin Metcalf was killed this week at that Frisco track meet. New documents detail what happened before and after 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony allegedly pulled a knife from his backpack and stabbed him.
If Austin says to Karmelo, you have to leave, does he legally have to? So there are still a lot of facts that need to come out about this. I'm recording this video on April 10th, and this incident occurred a little over a week ago, and we still don't know full details. I'm considering this video I'm making now a brief part 1 video, and of course, I want to follow up on this case as it progresses. So if this is the first time you're hearing about it, I'm looking at a website from Texas, a news article from Texas, just to bullet point the brief. The 17-year-old suspect accused of fatally stabbing another student at a Frisco ISD track meet admitted to the crime because he put his hands on me, according to the arrest report. So Karmelo Anthony is the accused stabber of this incident, and Austin Metcalf is the victim. Now, there's a lot of questions as to what happened before this. There's a couple obvious things that we can say, well, this just should not have happened, and the question mark of what to come. So continuing the brief bullet point that they put here, witnesses told police the two students got into a fight over where the suspect was sitting. They saw the suspect pull a knife out of his bag after the victim tried to push him out of the space. While being arrested, the suspect asked officers if what happened. They asked him, or he stated, what happened could be considered self-defense, posing it as a question. So from what we're gathering here, they were at a track meet, two separate schools meeting on that day. It was raining. Austin and his brother and several other people were underneath a tent. And Karmelo came underneath that tent because it was raining to get shelter. Okay. Seems like a reasonable thing so far. From what's being reported, Austin and his crew allegedly told Karmelo to leave. Now, right off the bat, it sounds like a simple sporting rivalry, right? Like, you know, your favorite sports team, whoever that might be, you go to the game, you wear the jersey, you see someone with an opposing team, and you kind of just have that tension, right? We can possibly say this is something similar. He goes underneath the tent. Words are exchanged. What exactly was said, we're not too familiar. But what we do know is the victim told Karmelo to get out, leave the tent. Words are exchanged. Victim pushes Karmelo. Austin pushes Karmelo. At that point, Karmelo pulls out a knife from his backpack, stabs him one time in the chest, and leaves the scene. Ditches the knife, leaves the scene. So a few questions that I have. Now, there's a chance that it has been reported and I didn't see it yet. So number one question is this. Why did Karmelo have the knife on the school grounds? Immediately, not something he's supposed to have. That's a criminal act right there, possession of that knife. The next question I have, and I'm just talking as I go, bullet pointing here. The next question that I have is, the tent that they were under, is on school grounds, meaning it's not property owned by Austin and his crew. Both Karmelo and Austin were essentially invited, allowed by the track meet organization, by the school, to be there. The tent is not closed off like, let's say, a camping tent where you have to essentially force your way into it by unzipping it or cutting it to get in. It's an open tent. It's not, you're not trespassing on anyone else's property. Now, the fact that he goes under, and now we also don't know, did they bring the tent or was it provided by the organization, the school? I'm not sure, and truthfully, it really doesn't matter too much. But my only thought is, did he have to leave? If Austin says to Karmelo, you have to leave, does he legally have to? I don't think so. I think he's allowed to be there. That's just like going up to somebody in a public place, standing maybe 2-3 feet away from them and just staring at them. It's weird, right? And you can tell that person, hey, get out of here. But if they're not threatening you, if they're not touching you, it's really not an issue. It's weird, but it's not illegal. You didn't break any laws. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm trying to think of all different scenarios. If I was there, what would I be thinking in that moment? So bringing me to my next thing. They told him to leave. You're on an opposing team. Maybe they knew one another, and perhaps they had beef before this even happened. I don't know. Karmelo was told to leave. He didn't. Words exchanged. Austin shoved him back. Whatever happened after that, a knife comes out. Now, in a previous video that I made titled, Should You Carry a Knife for Self-Defense? Make sure to look at that video because I explain in detail, can you use a knife against an unarmed person, which is exactly what happened here. The simple answer is no, you cannot. The more detailed answer is, if you believe your life is in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm, then you may be able to, only if the circumstances dictate that. For example, a disparity of force. And it does not appear as if there was a disparity of force, meaning they're both about the same age. They're both in about the same amount of, physical shape. And it was just a shove. He didn't fall to the ground either. What would Karmelo's defense attorney argue? Well, maybe he will say his life was in danger because he was pushed first, and Austin's crew, he was outnumbered, and I'm trying to think outside the box as to what they might use against him. But my personal opinion on this matter, it is not a justifiable use of force for self-defense. I do think that if Karmelo was or thought his life was in danger, he could have left. I mean, after all, he's at a track meet. He's probably quick enough to run. What I can say is it's a tragedy for both families. I mean, to have your twin brother die in front of you in your arms, that's got to be, it's never going to leave his eyes. The father speaking on the news and already forgiving Karmelo for doing this is, I can't wrap my head around that. That's a very strong man right there. Now, Karmelo's family essentially is without him. Now, that's because of his actions, but the whole thing is a mess. It really is. The whole thing is a mess. So, just based off of the limited research I did, I'm being honest with you, I didn't spend hours researching this and that because there's simply not enough information out. It's generally the same thing, a couple words shifted here and there on each news source at this time of recording the video. And I plan on following up on it and doing deeper research for a part 2. But just from what I see right now, the stabbing was not a justified use of force for self-defense. That's my opinion. It was not. I know this is not exactly a happy video. I like to put things out that you can learn from, and of course, there are things that you'll be able to take from this as time goes on. But as of now, this is the only information that I have. So for part 2 and possibly part 3 of this video, as well as other related things as far as self-defense, firearms training, Second Amendment news, and anything in between, consider subscribing to this channel. Turn the notifications on so you get alerted when part 2 comes out. Be safe, and remember, you are your own first responder.